Kloofing and risk-taking. Hello everyone and welcome to the podcast of The Ordinary Maverick. This is Ajay, your host, an ordinary maverick sharing real-life thoughts and experiences and maverick tips. Request you to please hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss another episode going forward. So, the curtain will soon set on another year. In another few weeks, 2021 comes to a close, and fellow Mavericks, I'm delighted to share that we have hit some major milestones with the Ordinary Maverick podcast. 65 episodes so far, 5,500 plus followers spread across 277 cities in 39 countries. Yes, it's an amazing feeling. Such an exciting journey. Just over a year now when I took the plunge and started these podcasts. Never knew what will happen and how things will pan out. But what I did know is that I want to do this and will enjoy it. And that's definitely true. Bottom line, it's been fun. It's been transformational in some ways, connecting with thousands of people all over the globe, and a huge learning experience. Speaking of taking the plunge, reminds me of the time when we were on a kloofing adventure in South Africa and literally took the plunge. So, what's kloofing? It's a new term for us as a family when we first heard it. We knew about hiking, trekking, rafting, and had even done these before, but kloofing? No, hadn't come across that one before. Given the mavericks we are, of course, we jumped right into it, and we are happy to not only know more about kloofing but also experience it. Kloofing is defined as the art of following a mountain stream down its course by floating, jumping, and swimming. It's the South African version of canoeing. The term comes from the Afrikaans term kloof, meaning a steep-sided wooded ravine or valley. So basically, one follows gorges and the rivers that flow through them any which way, that is by walking, swimming, floating, jumping, bouldering, climbing, rappelling, and even bum sliding. The main defining part of kloofing is that the gorge or ravine is several times deeper than it is wide, and a kloofing trip typically involves hiking and the descent of a watercourse. One may need to jump into the pools from varying heights, including up to 20 meters or more. Remember taking the plunge? Well, during kloofing, one has no other option but to dive right into these pools along the way and cross the gorge or ravine. Have experienced it myself, and I have to say this is quite something. These pools are typically between two mountain sides. One can't really see the bottom. It's pitch dark, and one has no idea how deep this gorge is. One just has to take a calculated risk, rely on the guides, get all the moral support from the group that's with you, and just jump. I will never forget the rush of adrenaline as we took the plunge. My daughters just fearlessly jumped in. The boldness and fearlessness of the young, what can I say? All the youngsters in the group just went right in, while the adults were more cautious and some of us just couldn't do it the first time, especially the really high jumps. The day-long kloofing trip we did together with friends was a never-to-be-forgotten experience and hooked us onto kloofing for life. We loved it. During the course of the day, we hiked, swam, jumped into pools, and even got to swim into a waterfall and sit in the cave inside the waterfall. Imagine sitting in a cave and seeing the waterfall in front of you. It was just spectacular. At one point, the path was so narrow with the river flowing through that we had no choice but to swim through and cross to the other side. It's like you do it or then get left behind, and of course, do not complete the trip. That day taught us all something, taking calculated risks. Some would say life is a series of calculated risks, and those of who are good at this do better overall, both in our personal and professional lives. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, choosing the right partner is a calculated risk. We listen to our heart and take the plunge. May not always work out, yes, but again, that's life. The ups and the downs. So, what is a calculated risk? The dictionary defines it as a hazard or chance of failure whose degree of probability has been reckoned or estimated before some undertaking is entered upon. You know, think the worst. I often ask myself, what's the worst that can happen? And importantly, we say, what's the worst that can happen and what's the best that can happen if we do this or if we don't do this, and then take our final decision. There's no gain without risks, that's for sure. So, jumping into that pool on a kloofing trip gives you the adrenaline rush, but it also helps you complete the trip, feel accomplished, enjoy teamwork, and create some fantastic memories for life. And not doing so, well, that makes you a bit sad. You have a feeling of, if only I could have gathered enough courage to do it, etc., etc. So, nothing earth shattering in the true sense. Yes, but then that's a decision you need to make. So, it is with life, with change, with taking the plunge into a new job, a career shift, choosing a life partner, shifting homes and cities, starting your own business, investing. You do it after weighing the options. Take the plunge, do the calculations, and work out the assumptions for the calculated risk. And then just move forward. Remember the Maverick formula? Go with your gut, be true, and fall forward. Kloofing is all about that. And so is life, right? So if you haven't tried kloofing, go ahead and do so, at least once in a lifetime. Speaking of calculated risks, makes me also think about foolish risks. You know, those where you don't really think it through and land up in trouble. For calculated risks you have thought through, defined checkpoints, are ready to say no and turn back if needed. In our case, we went kloofing with a guide and with a group that had several members who had done the route before. So there was experience and learnings. You know what? Recently we binge watched the final season of Money Heist, the Netflix series. I am sure many of you listening in have watched it. In case you haven't, please do so. As a family, we loved it. What a canvas of calculated risks, of anticipatory planning, of research, of abandoning certain plans and forging new ones, of having plan A, plan B, plan C, and even plans D and E, and of staying together. Being strong as a team, and the most important thing, trust. That's the thing with kloofing, or with taking calculated risks, or just taking the plunge. It's trust. Trust in oneself first and foremost, and then trust the team, your guide. If that is strong, then success will always be yours. Write in your comments, share your feedback. I would love to hear from you. This is Ajay signing off and wishing you have an amazing day. Stay well, keep safe.